It is 5:30 and I'm calling this meeting to order. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board, so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comment are, at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item, but before any action is taken, there may be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair, to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. Please silence all cell phones, and a reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. Okay, are there any adjustments to the order of the agenda?
I have none.
Anyone else?
None.
Okay, moving on to Select Board comments or remarks. Anybody on the Select Board have anything they'd like to say? I just want to remind everyone that we will not have our regularly scheduled meeting next week because the holiday falls on Wednesday and we did not want to meet that day. So, anyway, any other comments? All right, moving on to Select Board new business and discussion. First is the audit result. Oh, did you want, well, we already asked about moving things around, so we'll just keep it the way it is. Audit results, which is Samantha.
And she's not here yet. So.
Okay, well then we won't do that.
I guess there's your adjustment.
It's the organic adjustment. Okay. Next up is town meeting preparation, which has got your name on it, Karen.
Yes. So I want to start with the public safety contractual agreements. And the first one is Rescue Inc. And Drew Hazelton is on Zoom with us. And
Can we see him?
he's hiding in the dark. Lights out? Can we hear
I
him?
think you'd like me to
There.
refer to the monitor.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can't see you very well. The more important thing is that we can.
The other monitors.
The monitor that I think.
Oh, the monitor's up. Oh,
That one's broken, folks, so I'm sorry.
oh, bummer.
Um,
Wow, okay, well, we can see you, the Select Board can see you, so life is good. Oops, now we can't.
Now
Broke it.
it's
It's
Okay.
wrapped around the thing. I'm
All right.
sorry, I can't. I was trying.
No, I just wanted to make sure he was here.
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right.
You don't have the
So
modern technology you're used to, that's fine.
I had brought up rescuing some 3-year contract.
Yep.
And Drew's here to speak to the board about it.
Okay,
And also, at the end, I'd like to see a recommendation to move forward and approve the 3-year contract.
from the board,
Yes.
okay.
So you may need to make a motion, so be prepared.
All right, Drew, do you wanna take it away?
Yep. So for anybody that was present at our annual consortium meeting a couple months ago, we went into a pretty detailed explanation as to where the organization is at and the programs that we are currently working on, including our EMS operations, as well as our partnership with Brattleboro Hospital on mobile integrated health. That, if you've not had a chance to see that, it is available and recorded on BCTV. So you're welcome to look at that meeting. As far as the contract for services for the next 3 years, there's no changes in the contract with the exception of a increase in assessment of 1% each year for the 3-year term of the agreement. So that's really what we're asking for is again 3 years with a 1% increase each of those years.
Okay. Other questions on the board?
So 3% over 3 years.
3 years,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, percent per year, yeah.
Same services.
Yeah.
Am I correct, Drew? Same services. Have you added any new program services?
We have, so we're continuing to expand our mobile integrated health program, and that will continue over the next 3 years. That's in partnership with Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, but that won't have any impact on the assessment, but it will have a pretty significant impact on the health of our community. So we're pretty excited about that.
Okay. I mean, I'm,
Well, 1% increase seems like the deal of the year.
that's, I mean, it
We
is.
can do anything with just a
Yeah.
1% increase?
Given the other increases we're probably to see, that's really great, and, I mean, as far as I'm aware, your services are excellent, I've heard nothing but praise, so I'm good with this. Are there comments in the room? Karen, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I just, overall, Rescue does a really good job here. Everyone is happy with their service. So I highly recommend that we move forward with the 3-year contract.
I support that, and I can make a motion if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, let's just hear from Jeanette first,
Okay,
and then
then if
we'll
we're just
yeah.
hearing, I just want to add another thing to just add to that, is just appreciation for Rescue coming to the rescue when we were having such struggles in the spring with the fire department. So I just really, that was very, very appreciated. So.
Yeah, that was definitely, we wouldn't have been able to fill that gap if Rescue wasn't there. Jeanette?
So as your representative, I just wanted to mention, and Drew, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think by having a membership organization like this where more towns are involved and there's more services involved, although Rescue is our transport service, because of their added programming and their added services, we get a lot more out of it than just that. And I think I'm right here in that of their total budget, about 18 or 20% of it comes from the town assessments. So a lot of the other programming helps keep that afloat. Am I right, Drew?
Yeah, it's about 17 or 18%. You're correct.
Yeah, so if we were to go out on our own, we wouldn't have all those services. So I'm hopeful that you'll approve it.
Okay. Did you want to make a motion?
Sure, I make a motion to approve do we just have to say the new contract?
3-year contract.
3-year contract with a 1%.
3-year
increase.
contract with a 1% per year
Yeah,
increase in assessment.
Okay, so second?
Second.
and have me sign it.
And have Karen sign it?
Yeah.
And have Karen sign it.
Okay.
Sign it.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for Rescue Inc., the 3-year contract for Rescue Inc. with a 1% increase per year, and authorize Karen to sign it. Is there further discussion among the board? Any further comments in the room? Any comments online? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've done one contract.
Thank you.
Next up is the Windham County Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Anderson is here. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to run, Karen, do you want to run down the sheriff's contract, or?
So in your packet is the new rates for fiscal year 2026. I also gave you a copy of our current contract so you could see what services are provided.
Okay, I missed that.
So there is an increase for 2026. Now, there's 2 options. We can contract for 2,000 hours per year. That's $65 per hour. Or we could do $75 per hour for anything less than 2,000 hours. My recommendation is that we do 2,000 hours per year. It stays consistent and it works better overall.
Meaning that you would charge $75 an hour if it was below 2,000 hours?
That's correct.
Okay,
Right,
all right, okay.
right.
Just trying to read that quickly and it didn't
Yeah.
jive first. Go ahead.
I know you said you included last year's contract here, but how is that, what's the difference between last year's and this year's?
The price.
And how about hours? How about hours though?
No, the hours, I'm recommending
The
that we.
same amount of hours?
The same amount of hours, 2,000 hours a year.
Okay.
The average is about 40 hours.
And the price change
It was
is?
108 last year
Yes.
at $54 an hour.
50, okay.
So the price change from 108,000, the increase is to $130,000
Okay.
per year. But
And 2,000 hours, is that, do we normally use all 2,000?
yes,
Okay. And is there any reason not to go higher? Other than price?
more hours you mean?
Yeah.
No. No.
Okay. I mean, people often complain about, not having enough coverage, and I'm just throwing that out there that we could increase it if we thought that would help.
I don't
You don't
believe
think
we
it
need to increase the hours.
Okay.
I think we have ample coverage
Yeah.
in Putney.
Okay.
Unless it's a, one-off that's, takes a lot of their time.
Yeah.
But I don't see that,
Okay.
often enough to warrant an increase in hours.
Okay. All right.
So, and they're very good about accommodating if we need them to be in a certain place because of a situation
Some
or
kind of,
something.
Extra
they're there.
coverage in a certain spot.
Right.
Okay.
No. I'm satisfied with the coverage that we have.
Okay. Any questions for Sheriff Anderson on the select board?
Maybe just a little explanation about increase in cost and what that's about from your end?
Yeah, so good evening everyone, Mark Anderson, Windham County Sheriff. So like everyone, we all have increases in all the things. Health insurance went up, regular insurances went up. So we are not immune to those changes. The two other issues that we're dealing with, the most primary one for the increase is we're no longer competitive in the employment market. Most agencies in the state, as well as in Windham County, are now paying about $6 to $8 more per hour for someone who's untrained. So
Wow.
I've lost 4 people in the last year. Luckily, we're still recruiting and bringing new people in. So today I just hired one who's already certified, which allows us to continue providing services. But the basic problem that I have is either I make the increase now, or next July, I'm coming to you saying I can't provide the service because I don't have the staff. So it was kind of a tough year to come before the Vermonters and say prices are going up. But at the same time, I think that the service that we're providing, the relationship that Putney has with the town of Westminster and sharing the resource of each town between both towns helps provide more coverage or more perception of coverage. So when someone needs help, it's a good cost-effective way for us to be able to provision it. We're still continuing our conversations on regional policing, so we're now in the phase where we're going to start having public meetings. So we'll let the select board know when those are scheduled, and if you could help us push along that message, because what we're trying to do is say people need access to policing 24/7. How do we do it that's in a way that's affordable?
Right. And that's to the legislature that we would be pushing?
The plan was for us to be able to go to the legislature this year.
Yeah.
We haven't had the public meetings yet, and due to some of the staffing changes, I wasn't able to have the public meetings through the fall. So we're probably going to start the conversation with the legislature this year with an intention of introducing a bill the following session.
Okay. Yeah, I guess just keep us updated for, whenever the hearings are or whatever. That would be great. Get this camera. Okay, does anybody have any other comments, questions? Anybody in the Jeanette?
I just want to make a comment about some of the increases and how that became came about because all the counties in Vermont didn't get any ARPA money at all. The towns got all the money. And a lot of the towns that had their own police department used their ARPA money to raise the salaries of their town, of their police officers. So they didn't see an increase in their tax base last year, but they will this year. So they're gonna see the same increase because they raised everybody's salaries last year with ARPA money, and now they no longer have that. It has to be part of their general fund. So,
Yeah, I think Brattleboro is in that boat.
yes.
I was gonna say something, but I've forgotten what it was, so it probably wasn't important. Anybody online have any comments? Okay, can we entertain a motion to accept this contract for 2,000 hours? This is a 1-year contract, right?
Right, so this is in the budget already,
Okay,
so you can approve it when we have like all the numbers together.
you wanna do it that way?
Yes.
Alright,
Rescue
don't
is a
need to-
little different because they kinda needed their, by January.
okay, oh, cause this is July 1st
So
anyway.
there's someone else.
Right.
Okay, oh, Billy?
It's actually Lynn. It's Lynn
I had a
Weinstein.
50% chance.
I was just curious how the allocation of the hours kind of works. It's just, if that could be sort of answered. I don't know.
You wanna answer that question?
Yeah, happy to. So the both towns of Putney and Westminster contract for approximately 40 hours a week on average. We exclude certain days just to help make it manageable. And then the memorandum of understanding between the two towns is that when we have a deputy on in either town, so that one position, they may respond from Putney to Westminster if a call happened in Westminster and vice versa. So what it gives is both towns have a 40-hour resource that will split across 80 hours worth of time, which gives, again, that perception that you have coverage even when they're not technically here in the town of Putney. They're working the Westminster contract. And so to that end, it's my job to make sure that we make sure Putney gets its full 40 hours, and we provide a statement each month of how many hours we're done. And then at the end of the contract cycle, we settle up and say either we didn't give enough hours and either we give the town a refund for the hours not served, or we can roll it into the upcoming fiscal year. We try to keep that in roughly under 80 hours, which could be the difference between a death investigation or a burglary investigation or something else. So we don't want the business end of things messing up the operational end of things, which is why we just try to work with the towns to make that flexible.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, that was very helpful.
I just want to make a comment that all the reports for Windham County Sheriff's Office are on the website, so you can review them anytime. And I actually have a tracking sheet, and I'm very diligent about looking at hours.
Okay. Alright.
So,
Okay, so we don't have to approve anything tonight, we just, it's just an FYI, I guess. I guess it doesn't actually come to play until July anyway, right?
right.
So we would approve the contract.
Yeah, because at March town meeting,
Right.
it'll be another
Okay,
conversation.
so it's really about the price increase. Okay,
But it is in the budget.
okay. Are there any other questions for Sheriff Anderson? From the board? Anybody in the room? Anybody online? Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
We will move on then.
Karen.
Okay.
Next up is Simon Operations, which is Lane Simon, who is online.
Hi, Lane.
There you are. Hi.
So in your packet is the wastewater treatment plant contract for operation and maintenance of our system. And there's a second contract for the water system. And
Okay.
so the wastewater treatment plant contract did go up. So I would like to have Lane just explain the reasons for that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'll reiterate what the sheriff said. It's health insurance and market wages. The contract is pretty identical as far as, it is identical as far as services and personnel and the number of hours. It's just wages, and the big piece is the health insurance.
Okay.
Development in the last day or so, which will benefit the town, is we have connected with Vermont Rural Water Association, and we're going to be hopefully taking on an apprentice that will be based out of Putney. That's an investment that we make. I actually have 4 apprentices in the Vermont Rural Water Program. It's actually a Department of Labor program through the federal government that is administered through Vermont Rural Water. And it's worked out great. And it really, it enhances the operations because the operators go into teaching mode. And it's also another set of hands and set of eyes. But that's a business investment that we make. And like I said, this just materialized in the last day or so, but a nice benefit for you guys.
Okay, that sounds great. Does anybody have any questions about, just out of curiosity, why are these 2 separate contracts?
Separate budgets, separate contracts,
Separate billing.
and separate systems. So
All right.
it's always been done like that.
Because we've always done it that way.
That is not a good answer, but okay.
Well,
No, it would make sense if there's different, because there's different billing and
Right.
that makes sense. All right.
And it's the wastewater and the
water.
water
Right.
management.
Yeah.
So basically, this contract went up $29,240. And
What percentage is that?
30.
That's 30% over last year's.
Yes.
How long is this contract for?
It's 1 year.
It's always 1
Yeah, 1 year. Sometimes we do like a 3-year.
Okay.
I mean, in the past, they've been 3-year contracts, but.
So why are we only doing 1 year?
Lane, this one's only a 1 year, correct?
No, these are both 3-year. I think we landed on 3 years, but that's, we're flexible there.
Okay.
And it's,
And so 30% increase every year, or just for the
No.
3 years? So 30% increase and we're good for 3 years?
no.
No.
So usually, with the 3-year contracts in the
Yeah.
past, there'd be like a 3 or 4% increase each year.
Uh-huh.
So, but this was a big increase, so,
But what will happen next year?
well, hopefully it won't be 30%, right, Lane? It'll be
4%.
4%.
All right.
Is that in the contract?
It is.
Can you direct us to where it might be?
Yes, it is under section 4, period of service, the last line.
Okay.
Oh, and I didn't mention, we also include a vehicle for the operators. So there's no town vehicle, but that's always been the agreement with the town.
Okay.
Which is cost effective for the
Yeah.
town.
Yeah. All right. And this is another July 1st contract?
Yes,
So we're just, again, heads up, this is in the budget.
yes,
Okay, so we don't have to
right,
approve anything tonight.
no. And remember, this is a user fee based
Right.
budget, so what'll happen is we will have to increase
Increase
the sewer
user
fees.
Okay.
So Kim and I are working on an angle on how to back out of this number to get an appropriate fee
Okay.
structure.
Okay.
We'll have to make announcements before.
So I just want to be clear that it's a 30% increase this year, and next year it will be 4% of the increased fee, and the third year it will be 4% more of the increased fee. Yes?
Yes.
I'm just wanting to understand. So we're
Yes.
basically looking at almost a 40% increase
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Yes.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's a big system.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And
not the amount of money. It's the percent of increase that I'm responding to.
You haven't seen the general fund yet, so it's across the board, Peg, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's, compensation and insurance. But, the fact that these contractors are building out their businesses for, succession planning is wise. So, and I'm thankful that we have Joe Tatro, who lives in town and works for Simon, and Chris Hayes is wonderful. And Anthony is another young person that comes down, and I keep forgetting the new guy's name, Lane. Dylan, yeah. And he's fairly young too, so.
Okay.
And then when I need, the tough stuff, I call Lane.
Okay.
As we go through the 20-year analysis also, they will be assisting us quite a bit
Okay.
because they know the system.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the board on the wastewater contract? Any comments in the room, questions in the room? Any comments or questions online? Okay, I guess we'll move on to the water contract.
The water contract was fairly reasonable, normal increase. Not concerned about it. And that one's set up the same way, Peg.
And what percent increase is that one?
I'd have to look in the contract.
This one
Is that one 4% also, Lane?
Yeah, 4% per year, and the increase was less than 10%, I believe, from the previous contract.
Okay, so there's a 10% increase from last year's contract with a 4% increase for the following 3 years, 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, yeah.
Okay.
And that 4% is the same as what was on the last 3-year contract.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. So, Lane, does that mean that the water contract has less human resource built into it than the sewer contract? I mean, since they're so different, in terms of the increase.
There's also the element of the number of hours, because we have the ability to track the contracted hours for both system out, because there is separate billing. So I track the hours for the water system versus the hours for the wastewater system. So they're evaluated independently, which is why the increase is quite different.
But if the increase is really based on insurance and salaries and things like that, what makes for the such a big difference between the two contracts?
3 elements is health insurance, wages, and the trackable number of hours. So I did an analysis over the past 12 and 24 months independently and then together to arrive at because the contract is based on number of hours per week.
So wastewater takes more hours than water.
Yeah. So essentially, if you want to look at it this way, the last contract was a better deal because we were putting more hours toward the work than the actual contract. that has been equalized. Now the contract equals the number of hours that we spend on contracted services. That doesn't include, emergency calls or weekend things that go sideways.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I still don't understand it.
If the water system takes less hours than the wastewater.
But wouldn't the percentage go up the same regardless of the number of hours? Why?
No, because they're not billing, they're billing us due to the number of hours.
They weren't
So
doing that
their expenses are over here, and they're billing us for those expenses based on the number of hours.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions or comments on the board? On the water contract, anybody online? Anybody in the room? Okay. I don't have any. So thank you for explaining the contracts, Lane, and thank you for your patience with the other pieces.
Thanks for the invite.
All right, moving on to the operating budget, our favorite. First up is the library. We've got several representatives.
Should be online.
Hi, Emily.
Here, can you guys see and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, cool, thanks. I can't see you, I can hear myself, but I can't see myself, so just wanted to make sure. I was planning on presenting the budget, and then the trustees were going to speak to a portion of the budget, which was the salaries. Do you guys want me to speak generally about it, or would you like to go line by line? I think all of the select people presently have seen a library budget before, at least once. I think all of you have seen it more than once, but I'm happy to do whatever you'd like in the interest of your time and the meeting.
What does the board want to do?
I think generally it'd be fine.
Generally? General is the consensus.
Okay, great. I think that you guys all have the same printout I do, which is just the NEMRIC view of our budget. So the first chunk of things that you see are the revenues. This is the incoming money that we have to the library. It includes the town allocation, but it also includes fee-for-service things like people using our printer, people from out of town who pay for library cards, donations people make, or fines that people pay when they lose or damage a book. The Edwald donation is also in here. Just in general, you can see the increase in the transfer in from general fund is $25,070. There's also increases in income in printing, just because our printer has been very popular. And the trustees are adding additional money in from their fundraising to support programs. They're adding another $250 this coming fiscal year to support programs, and they're adding $500 extra in the trustees appropriation, which is more of just like a general contribution to the operating budget. Does anybody have any questions about the revenues?
Do we have questions about revenue?
If not, I'll chug along and just do some highlights of the expenditure.
No questions about revenue.
No questions?
Nope.
Okay, great. So expenditures, I'm going to skip over the salaries because, like I said, the trustees are going to be addressing that. Telephone and internet, we had a mega drop in this expense because I applied for and received a $17,000 grant last year to upgrade our fiber internet connection within the building, like all of our equipment within the building. And then the rest of that grant after upgrading the equipment can be used towards service. So that's going to cover 3 years of fiber internet service for us. So until through 2027, we're not going to have that expense, which is great. So you can see that line has gone down. Many things have stayed the same. Programs, technology, other, the cost of the copier, a few things that went up. Let me see. I'm just actually pretty much everything in that first block has stayed the same. The copier cost went up about $50. We made really modest increases in the circulating materials. These are the things that you guys think of when you think of the library, like the books. So there's $150 in both adult books and kids books. Magazines and newspapers I've increased by $200, and digital content, which a lot of people are using more and more. so our costs for it have gone up. I increased by $800. The numbers on that are great. Look at your town report supplement. A lot of you guys have gotten really into ebooks and audiobooks. The benefits lines are all straight from the town manager, and I think these are just actual numbers or cost projections that Karen provided for me. And the VLCT passive insurance in the next chunk went down slightly. Cleaning for us has gone up. Every year as our building ages, I add $1,000 more in repairs and maintenance, and it's never been a bad idea. Our building's going to be 20 in 2025, so we're going to have a birthday party. I hope you guys all join us. But it also means the new library is aging, and things are as some of the systems fail, we need more and more repair. We have a really small increase in heat, and that's about it. But I want to mostly open it up to questions for you guys.
I think I'm answering my own question, but the FY 2025 actual, that's because we're still in that year.
Correct.
So,
yeah. So
these numbers are lower, but that's because we haven't gone all the way to July 1st yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Does anybody have any other questions? Library budget. Is this a good time to segue into the salaries?
Probably.
Okay.
You can turn that over.
All right.
Before I do, so I'm joined by colleagues Ben Lord, and everybody knows Jim Oliver, who sat up there once a long time ago. They're on our finance committee, and I'm Janice Baldwin. Before I talk about this, I just want to mention that Emily mentioned that the trustees had voted to increase our appropriation, and we committed actually to increase it every year by the cost of living, and that's never happened before. So every year that's going to be going up by whatever you tell us the cost of living is.
2.5%
this year anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we haven't done that in the past, so we're making a commitment to do that.
Okay.
So the reason we want to speak about the increase in our salary line is because it looks like it's considerable. When we did our strategic plan last year, we made a priority to take care of the health and wellness of our staff, and in doing that, it became really clear that historically they have been substantially underpaid. And we realized that this was now becoming urgent. After speaking with them, this was urgent, and the board decided we needed to do something about that. So after we did a fair amount of research, we looked at all the libraries in Vermont, which is challenging because there aren't really strict comparables. The libraries, sometimes they're open for 5 hours, sometimes they're 40 hours. You have directors who work 20 hours a week. You have people who have no credentials and people who have a lot of experience. So it's not a really solid way to evaluate. However, even looking at that, our admin staff are still make less money, like $16.87 and $17 an hour is less than the average of that level of staff. So I think a couple of things that we used. One is something called the MIT wage calculator, and they do that for every single state. This is in 2024. Those were the numbers that we used. If you're interested, I can share with you the differences between what our staff are paid and what they recommend. Just for example, a single person with no children, and we have one person in that category, the base is $23.02, and our person makes $16.87. She has a degree, and she's like 4 courses away from getting her master's in library science, and has a credential in library science, equivalent to what our previous director had. Married with 1 child, we have a person in that category. It's $23.85 is what the calculator suggests. and she makes $17.27. She has at least 4 years in our library. She's worked in many other libraries, including as an acting director in Wethersfield. So she's way out of whack. Plus, she has acquired technical expertise in the time that she's here. We rely on her for all of our cataloging. And that was not her job description when she was hired, so she's taken on that responsibility. We have someone who's married with 2 children, who also has a master's in library science, who runs our children's program and is responsible for the enormous increase in the program that we have for families and children. They recommend $29.85 as a base. She was making $22.49, pretty comparable to what her son was making as a pool attendant this summer. So this was really pretty shocking for us when we really dug down and looked at it. And the board, and I ask you both to chime in, we committed to do something about that. And so we made initially actually what are pretty modest increases when you see the numbers in their salaries. But we also committed to propose that not just for the coming year, but to make a commitment to start doing it in December 1st. And so the board voted to use money from our endowment to fund this increase in the salaries for our staff from December till the end of the fiscal year. That's how urgent we felt the situation is. So they're getting them now. They're thrilled. We also felt it was important that they get the cost of living increase as well, or they're just going to be going back again. And still, I didn't mention this before, but the two assistants still make less money than the admins, even with these raises, significantly less than the admins for the town. So we're not making unreasonable adjustments here. Our director has been here, will be here 10 years in January 2nd. And as you know, first of all, this is not the library that it was 10 years ago, and it's not the job it was 10 years ago. Our numbers have expanded. I think, what is it, 4,000 from last year we increased, 12,000 for the 3 years previous to that. So every year, now we have a door counter, so we know how many people are coming in and using the library for programs, for borrowing, for reading the newspaper, for using the computers and the printer, for just asking a question. So usage is up tremendously. In addition, the responsibilities for the director have increased tremendously. I mean, the library is now, I've been here 11 years, and it was a lovely library. It was cool. I liked to go there and read the newspaper. It was kind of sleepy. We had programs, which were mostly handled by one of the trustees. Now, it's a vibrant hub. Everybody says that. Everyone says, as soon as I say I'm on the library board, they're like, oh, I love the library. Oh, Emily's so wonderful. The staff is so great. It's really, I really feel like we're becoming a real center. But that's happened because of the work of the librarians, and specifically our director. So she's also taken on, first of all, the grant writing in the last, to the tune of $65,500 in the last several years. 40% of that has gone to building, not maintenance, maintenance, additional, we just got a $17,000 grant for our fiber connection for 3 years. We will not be paying anything for that. Things like that ongoing. She does all the maintenance for our technology. She orders, installs, maintains, repairs, upgrades, all of our computers. Previously, there was somebody we hired to do that. Same thing with managing the fundraising database. We had a bookkeeper that we paid to do that. Now the director does that. And then there's all the programming and development work that goes into being the director. That was handled somewhat by one of the trustees before. And now she takes on that because it's just such much more vibrant than it was before. So those are that's kind of a lot, I guess, of the context for why we felt that it was important to do this. What specific questions do you have about the increases?
Anybody have questions about salary?
I have questions. First, how many employees are at the library? Can you?
There's 4.
There's
employees. The director.
And part-time, give me a sense of what the FTE
So the
is.
director's 35 hours a week.
Okay.
Julia, who's the youth librarian, is 31 hours a week. Fiona, who is, Karen Fisher, who is the cataloger, is 20 hours a week.
Yeah, I think it was 19 when we last measured. But yeah, you're in the right ballpark.
Okay.
19 and then 6 for Fiona.
She's the one that's in library school now.
Okay.
Yeah. So the amount of money that we advanced was about $13,000 for those 6 months.
Right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I would just say that, like all the other contractors that we've been hearing from tonight, what really motivated us was a sense of that it wasn't fair, but they just were not getting a fair salary, given all of the other numbers we looked at out there, that someone should be getting about the same as their son did on an hourly basis to this, teenager at the pool. That's just not fair. And then the other part, which the sheriff mentioned, which is real. I mean, these people do a great job and love to work there, but if they can't afford to, they're going to work somewhere else.
Right.
And we don't want that to happen.
We did look, I explained about Vermont, Springfield, and I can't remember the other one. There are other libraries nearby where the salaries are higher. Springfield is one of them. Of course, Brattleboro, but it's a much larger library. And you have to really, just to find directors that have the tenure and the longevity in a library and the publications, you have to find comparable, you need to go to the bigger libraries. We looked at Massachusetts libraries as well. In Northfield, which is right on the border, the director makes and their staff make considerably more than ours do.
It goes without saying that I think our librarians deserve a lot more money than that. I mean, I'm an educator too, I know what it's like to make a pittance of what my child is making, doing, that's such a common thing. For me, the question that I have is really about fairness relative to other town employees, and just wondering, Karen, what how does that play out? How do we look at salaries across the board and how they play out against their what is the prices, the pay scale that people are getting in as town managers, as clerks, as like where are we at in terms of kind of general looking at how up to speed we are with our salaries in general?
We're getting better. Are we there yet? No. I mean, I've had the conversation with the library trustees. They came to me, and I agree with them. You cannot compare apples to apples. It's very difficult to do. We just went through this with the highway department, trying to get our folks up to a decent wage where they wouldn't be poached from another town or from the state.
Right.
So
all towns are in the same boat, yes.
yeah. We're all in the same boat. Right. And the only way we're gonna know if we're in the ballpark is to have a study done to make sure we have enough staff to, do all of the work. And, the library has said it too, it's like, they could probably use more people, right? But you need to figure that out. I know Vernon did a compensation study and a staffing study down there, but we experienced it with the fire chief, you're doing 6 different hats and, are you getting paid? Are you being compensated for what you're doing?
Right.
It's going to be a shock with this budget, because I have looked at town hall and some of the rates have increased in the budget to compensate for the amount of work that is being done right here at Town Hall.
Yeah.
And, you know, I struggle with the lifeguards because they have certifications. It's like emergency services,
Right.
they have certifications. It's like, it's not just a piece of paper. These folks have degrees, but it's like, where is it fair and equitable, right?
Right, that's that's
Yes.
my question.
So
That's my question about equitability. Yeah, it's a concern for me too, you know,
Right,
and equitability across town employees. As to me, that's part of where we have to look, as well as how we're comparing to other, you know, across a standard that MIT might do, or a statewide standard or whatever. Both of those have to happen.
I mean, VLCT, Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, does a survey every year with compensation, and I look at the book, but again, you're not comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, especially for things like you said for libraries, because libraries are so different.
They are
You know,
different, they're regulated differently, they have a board of trustees.
But across towns, like, you know,
Right.
Brattleboro
Right.
is like a full-time,
Yes.
40 hours a week. They're
Yeah.
open, you know, every single day except
Right.
possibly the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
They have major different needs. You know, they've sort of become a social services agency to some degree. And then you have, you know, a town like Putney whose library is, you know, open a fair amount, but not necessarily to the same degree. So,
Right.
so I understand that's, you know, not apples to apples. I also understand that anybody who's working for our library may look for other employment that's going to pay the bills.
Right.
So I understand the issue. You know, the only, and I'm just gonna name it out loud, the only issue that obviously we have as a board and we have as a town is that when we increase the salaries and the budget, that falls on the taxpayers. And, you know, we've already heard from the taxpayers that they're being priced out. So there's obviously that balance. But in this sense, is most of the salary being paid out of the endowment, or is it how much?
Just for those 6 months.
Okay.
Right.
So what's the plan after that? We would absorb it?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
Well, I heard your initial question, Peg, as being, will the other employees of the town perceive this as being fair in that everybody in town who works for the town is sort of being treated the same way, or that is this going to shoot the library way up above comparable to the extent you can determine comparability of positions in the town. And that's something we did look at, what people at town hall are getting paid in the highway department and so on, in the fire department. And we chose numbers which we felt put people who, to the extent you could compare, at relative parity. So, because, you know, having sat in that seat, you don't want to create a situation where suddenly some people in town are getting paid more money and that's not fair. I don't think, I don't know what you would say about that, but I think that's not going to be the perception.
Well, that is my concern.
Right.
That's a great concern to me.
Right.
And there was another.
The point I made before, you know, and I understand the work's completely different and the credentials, but the closest that I could think of were the admin staff in the town hall. I mean,
Right.
they do administrative work. And the two, I keep saying junior, but the two assistants, one will be making $19.85. And one will make $20.15.
Well,
previously,
I guess that's where I'm really looking to Karen.
right,
To
$23
say,
an hour.
you know, because I don't have the data of what everybody in the town hall is getting paid. So I have to look to Karen and say, in your estimation, are we, in terms of comparable skill sets, comparable hours of employment comparable, levels of education needed for jobs, comparable responsibility, you know, do you feel like there's equity there? Because
No, I don't. And I say that it's hard to, I can't compare my administrative people to, you know, the library. It's, to me, that's not comparable. It's different work, you know. I mean, a treasurer is different than my admin, right?
Right, but typically, you know, for instance, at Landmark College, where we have a wide variety of employees, there's scales for looking at, you know, grades of employment. You know, what types of education do people need? How many hours are they working? What's the skill set? What type of management, supervision responsibilities do they have? You know, there's ways to look at scales, and I want to make sure that we are doing that here as a town, so that it is that we have some rational reason for paying people at different rates.
So I think a study needs to be done, and Windham Regional offered to do that. You know, do a staffing.
We didn't do that already?
No.
Okay.
So to do a staffing study and look at, you know, the compensation and the workload and figure out if we actually have enough people to do the amount of work that we're doing and that we're getting compensated fairly. So that's a Windham Regional study. Chris Campney's brought it to our attention more than once.
Okay. Well, maybe we should bite the bullet on that one.
Yeah.
I guess one point we didn't make that I think is important, and my colleagues will echo this. We see this as a first step. This is not equity, you know, really.
Right.
It isn't. And it isn't even equitable if you're looking at the admin staff. We see this as a first step. I don't know what next year will be or the following year, but we want to bring them to that point where they are closer to being fairly compensated and making more than you would make if you worked 6 months at Hanford's, for example, or a year.
Can I just say, I think that all the people who work for the town, all the people who work for the library, probably should be paid more than they currently are.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess the point I'm making is that I don't think they're differentially out of line. I think everybody deserves more. And the library is not sort of surging ahead of others from looking at what the hourly rates are for the people in the administration of the town. Everybody needs to move up, and that's the kind of thing, no doubt, that the Windham Regional Commission study will find. But we're not getting out of line here. We're not creating
Imbalance.
Thank
Quickly.
you. Imbalance
Right,
is
yeah.
I think that's good to that's good to know. Yeah.
That seems to be your big.
Right, that's my main concern. I mean,
Right.
of course I have concerns that people who work for a town get paid a living wage.
Right.
But even more concerning than that to me is that they're paid equitably, fairly, within the system that we're all working in here at the town.
With some kind of justification, like a
Yes.
grading system or something like that.
Yeah. So I will
performance
make a
based.
point
Yeah.
of following up on the Wyndham Regional Study, because it
Okay.
sounds like we
Okay.
are
Good.
in dire need of
Yes.
doing that.
Yes.
And I'll put that on my to-do list.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Because I'm not getting I'm getting mixed messages, and so
Yeah.
I just really want to follow up on that one,
That's fair.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'm just not sure in terms of the report we get here, we get the dollar change, but we don't get the percentage change.
I have the percentage. I didn't want to just give you all that and you've been flipping through papers all night.
Well, just because for me and the
I
analyzing
know.
the stuff, it's much easier for me to look at percentage change than it is dollar change.
I can give you that. And in the town report, we have to manually put the percentage and the dollar amounts because NEMRIC won't do that for us.
Oh, so it's a manual thing?
It's,
Yes.
yeah, NIMRIC has canned
Yes.
reports, so you can't go in and say, I'd like to see
Right.
the percentage rather than the,
Yeah.
so
You
they
would have
have
had 20 pages of numbers and you would have had them
So
all.
when we're reviewing the budget in preparation for town meeting, we can't we can only work with dollar amounts, not percentage amounts.
No, Kim
They
and
can
I
do
will
it,
make
it's just
sure that
they have
we
to-
have both on one piece of paper for you.
they have to export the data and then do it differently.
Right.
These are canned reports out of
Yes.
Okay.
a
Yes.
software called NIMRIC, which is about
Yes.
19,000 years old. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, well, just so you know, because
It's not equitable,
way
it's
more,
not equitable.
it's way more useful, it's just easier
No, I
for me to
get it.
analyze something if I know that your,
Right.
salaries at the library
It's 12% or 20%, yes.
4% or
Right,
whatever,
right.
Yeah. It just works.
Okay.
Okay.
Have we
Exhausted this?
solved the library? Yes. Are there other comments or questions on the board about the library budget? Anybody online? Anyone in the room? Okay, I think we can move on.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
bringing
for coming.
budget.
Thanks for your support, everybody, and all the work you do to keep us running here.
Yeah, well, thanks for running the library. It's a great resource.
It sure is.
All right, next is the general fund, fire and EMS. And Brian is here to help go through that for us.
Brian, I have a different report that's gonna totally confuse you.
Thanks.
Um,
Appreciate that.
So fire is part of the general fund, right?
yes.
Okay.
And it is on page, let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah. We'll have Brian talk about his and then he can take off, be with his family.
Sure.
You're on page 11. Brian, I'm gonna explain what I did. You're not gonna like it, but I did it. So, in order to really figure out how much it costs to have fire and EMS, you have the chief's salary, which I kept at the current rate for 2025.
Okay.
But what I did, Brian, is I took the insurance. It's a family plan, because we don't know what's gonna happen. And I took all the benefits with the payroll taxes, the HRA expense, anything that's benefit related, payroll, beamers.
Of the chief's position or all of them? I guess the chief
Just
is the
the
only one who
chief.
would get the benefits.
Yeah,
okay.
the chief was the only one that was full-time.
Yeah.
So to make this work and to actually see what it was gonna cost to run this department, I took it out of the town management budget and I put it where it needed to be.
Okay.
Okay, which increased the budget.
So it was always in there. It was just a different line item somewhere else.
It was in my town management,
Okay.
in my budget, and
So
not.
essentially yours went down by
Yes.
that amount, and
Yes.
this went up by that amount, but
Correct.
bottom line of
Alright.
the general fund is still the
You're
same.
just making
Yes.
it clear. That's good.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And this could probably be cleaned up a little more, so it's not so, where I could put benefits and in different sections and it'd be cleaner. So that's kind of what I did, Brian. The other thing we did too is, we have a section for fire and then we have a section for EMS, so we can start tracking on-call hours,
Okay.
supplies, and there was something else. Supplies and training. So we're gonna try to start tracking that. We can go back to July 1st. It's gonna take Kim a little while to parse those out, the hours and the training, and to journal entry them into EMS. But that's one way of really figuring out what it's costing in each department.
Okay.
Everything else pretty much stayed the same. And just remember too, the budget it's a guessing game.
Especially this one.
Yeah, this one's like kind of
So
rocky.
different.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about it, Brian?
I guess I'd just like to say that originally I think we were due for a new fire engine this year.
Okay.
And I said to Karen that there's no way that I don't know if it's this department or the town is ready to spend $850,000, $900,000 on a fire engine, because the capital plan and everything for the fire department is basically a dumpster fire. I mean, it's not good at all. So that's something that needs to be worked on, and we need to get ourselves in a. I mean, it is coming down the road, but you can't go to the taxpayers right now and ask them to spend $900,000 on a fire truck.
Yeah, so we don't have that in the capital funds. For
No.
the highway funds, we don't have a line item. Is there some way that we can start one for
Yeah,
fire
so
equipment?
I've been talking with Brian, and what I'd like to see is a subcommittee created to look at a fire truck, price one out, and look at the capital plan. They have the capital plan.
Yeah.
So that department together should create a subcommittee,
Okay.
take a look at it. There are grants, but we're not ready to purchase a big ticket item like that. But we actually have two trucks that are due in 26.
But like how do
We're fine.
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
because I remember the fire. Didn't we approve purchase of a
4 years ago.
Yeah, and then we
Yeah.
decided not to.
Right.
Is that the same truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, but my question was, should we start a fund like we have with highway department equipment?
Yes, and
This
I
year
have
before
a
we
way to do that.
Okay.
But I'm not sure I want to talk about it tonight.
Okay.
I think we wait, and then I want to.
I think a couple years out, when we lose the payment on the fire station and stuff like that, it's going to make this a lot easier to.
That's true. How many more years do we have on that?
So 27 is the last
Okay.
building payment, but I need to approach the schools and start talking to them now. And I don't really.
Gotcha.
I don't want to get into detail of that because I want to work with the department.
Okay.
And we'll come up with a plan.
I am understanding where you're coming from now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you know what it is. Here's the other thing too, because we don't have any revenue coming in from the fire department, for accidents or anything like that.
Aren't we supposed to get something from the highway?
We're working on it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. So we have a third party vendor that I've been talking to, Eric's been talking to, Brian's aware of it.
Okay.
It doesn't cost the town anything. They'll go after the insurance company.
Okay.
But I'm gonna need to write an article for town meeting because that revenue comes into the general fund.
We wanted to go somewhere and fire.
What we would like to see is any revenue generated by that department to go into the special 330 fund. They can build that up for capital.
Okay.
And it's strictly for that department.
Okay.
At least until this gets straightened out.
Right.
Yep.
Once you get it straightened out and it's stable and whatever, then at that point, maybe 15 years down, I don't know how long it'll take, but however long it takes after that, once you're stable, then maybe that money goes back to the general fund, and the taxpayers are the ones that ultimately allow that place to run.
Yep.
And if you create revenue by that and you're good shape financially, that money should go back to the taxpayers. So
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have
You're working on it. You're working on the invoicing from the
Yeah.
highway.
We need
portion.
an ordinance and that's gonna take some
We
steps.
do need an ordinance.
Yeah,
Ours is outdated.
I know it's outdated, but we
So-
do have one.
Karen said there's a process, we have to take it to a special meeting and
Okay.
so that
Public
needs to-
hearing.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Sounds like you're on it.
well,
You're working on
We're
it.
working
Okay,
on it.
good. So I'm not working on it. That's good. That's
So there's
like
a lot
that.
of different things happening, you know,
Uh-huh.
behind the scenes,
Yep.
which is, you know, coming together. It's a work in progress.
Brattleboro has a similar ordinance.
Yeah,
So you might want to look at theirs.
Yeah.
And how they bill. I don't know how they bill.
we're gonna do third party because it takes it right off of our,
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
So, anything else with your budget? We can talk about it some more. It's not final tonight, so.
Yeah, I think as far as the other truck, the only thing we didn't go on is the other truck, and that's the car, and you know, it's basically getting used right now as a second rescue vehicle.
That's the truck, the
Yeah.
the chief
Chief's
truck.
vehicle, yeah, essentially. We're using it as the second out EMS vehicle instead of running the brush truck, which is handy during the winter because you don't have to worry about water freezing. So it's working good for that, but it's
Okay.
not, I mean, we're not like itching to buy one right now. It's not, it doesn't
Okay.
get used that much.
And are we increasing like a maintenance line to cover the aging?
We did increase some of, I did a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't wanna go overboard, but, I think we caught up with a lot of maintenance stuff, which was good.
The reality with most of those trucks is like the pumps, you're doing maintenance on those every year, you're testing them every year. So whether the truck's 30 years old or 2 years old, a lot of that maintenance you're doing anyways.
Okay.
You know, you're changing the oils, you're doing tires. There's a fair amount of money that went into that engine when we decided not to buy the one 4 or 5 years ago. So
Okay.
it's holding its own. Something could happen, but I mean,
I guess anything could happen.
yeah, anything
Alright.
could happen at any given time.
Okay,
So
but
it's
we're,
not.
we're feeling good about
Yeah.
the equipment. We
Yeah,
don't
we're
have to. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else have questions?
I just have a question about how, just a couple other things that I'm looking at that got moved over from town management, right? So the, VLCT passive insurance, remind me what that's for?
So that is for, there's workers' comp.
Okay.
And then there's passive is on our vehicles and equipment.
Liability.
Liability,
So those
yes.
were on
Yeah.
your town management,
Yes.
but they were the fire department's
Mhm. Yes,
vehicles. Oh,
yes.
well, this sounds like a good plan, a good change. Workers' comp insurance, I'm assuming that is.
Yeah.
Okay, and, special detail, what's special detail?
Do you want to
Where it
explain that?
says,
It could be anything from somebody requests,
like it says bike race.
like, yeah, if you have a bike
Yeah.
race, they might request EMS.
Right.
EMS coverage
Stand
for
by.
that.
Do we charge them for that?
Yes.
We do, but you have to show it on the, so this is on the expenditure side, you would then have it sort of reimbursed on the revenue side,
Okay,
correct?
Right,
Yeah.
yes, because we would bill.
But you still have to have the line for the expenditure.
Right,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah. So,
And we don't do much of that right now. Or maybe we do, we
Well,
just don't
maybe
bill
we need to
it.
have some more parades or something.
Right.
I mean, we went to Landmark for graduation the other day, and I mean, a bunch of us were gonna go anyways, and I don't feel the need that a bunch of us were gonna be there because we wanted to be there. I don't feel we need to bill for that. I mean, it's just some of this stuff is like you're part of the community too. You know, you don't have to bill for everything you go do. And I think that's trying to get that across, and so everybody understands that on the department is, you know, feels good to go do something for everybody. So.
right, and we're talking about, what you were just talking about previously was like when we get reimbursed for things, where does that money show up in the budget. And right now,
It's in the general
it's in the
fund.
general fund, and you're hoping to get some kind of revenue line item in the fire.
What?
No, so what we.
Where will, I'm sorry, I think
Yeah, it's okay.
where will that show up?
It's still gonna show up in the general fund,
Yeah,
but we need an article so we can move that money into the special fund.
okay. All
Cause
right.
we can't just take money out of the general fund and put it in, in a.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's
technically,
not
yeah.
as though we're gonna have some revenue line in the fire department?
No,
Okay.
no, we won't track it that way.
Can we track it in the general fund?
Yes.
Like fire department revenue? I mean, will we be able to see?
You'll see it when we get into the general
Okay.
fund, I'll point it out to you.
Okay.
Okay?
I just wanna say thank you for your patience in answering all these questions.
No,
Because
it's
I have a
fine.
very, like, I feel like I really wanna understand the budget more this year than I ever have before. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be asking a lot of questions.
It's fine.
It's okay, that's,
Somebody needs to understand.
yeah,
Okay.
don't be afraid to ask a question.
Okay,
So is there any way that if this is gonna show up in the town report like that, is there some way you could maybe put a little paragraph in there sort of explaining that it doesn't look like the fire department increased its,
No.
increased everything by a huge amount and the bottom line went way up. It's just a matter of it doesn't show in the general fund, it shows in fire now instead.
No, we can explain that, I'll put a little, blurb at the end.
Okay.
I wanna do a financial supplement too, which is gonna break out each department separately.
okay,
And then we can really put like a paragraph in there, explain what's going on.
okay.
So I think the timing of this is good because of what's happening and we're trying to reorganize and restructure.
Go ahead.
And where are we at in terms of increasing increasing on-call rates and chief salary and, like we're hearing it from everybody else, we need to increase, we need to keep up with the times, we need to, are we level funding that or are we increasing that?
No, we're gonna leave it.
We're gonna leave it for right now.
Because we don't know what we're doing.
We need to look at that
Yeah.
and that's being done with a core group right now. But it hasn't been teased out yet, but we are looking at it.
All right.
And
As far as the on-call stuff goes, I feel like we should leave it. And I also feel like most of the people down there, you could tell them tomorrow that you're not paying them at all and they're still gonna show up. So, and that's ultimately what you want, is people not showing up because they're getting paid. They're showing up because they wanna show up. So.
I agree. And
And
I think that we have an obligation to pay people. If we are paying people to do it in a way that reflects changing, cost of living over the years, I don't want the fire department just to be stagnated. So
I think that study would help us determine how to build the appropriate.
right, and I know better than not anybody, but better than a lot of people at this point after being on the advisory, the task force, how, that we're not talking apples to apples. It's so hard to know, compare with other towns and all of that. I totally get that. But that would be eager to get more information.
There's
I have a hand on it's either Billy or Lynn.
It's Billy. I just wanted to ask one question because I noticed that the chief's salary budget, which had been at 90, is now at 70. And I guess I know we don't have a crystal ball, but I want to make sure that there is enough money in the budget so that should the select board decide to pursue a full-time chief, when the time comes that there is money for that. And I'm asking this with the acknowledgement that we've discussed the fact that salary is below market. as best we can tell. So I just want to make sure that there's an awareness that if that's what the select board decides to pursue, that may not be enough money to get the person that would be ideal for the job. So I just wanted to.
I'm not sure we were hitting a 90 though, the last couple of,
No, there
years,
wasn't,
like
that-
this.
I just,
did you,
it was reduced,
when was it reduced?
like today.
Well, but the budget for, 2024
Is 70.
60, I have a 66, 893.
Hang on a minute. What page are you on?
11.
All right, so 11. Yeah, so that was in 24. It was $66,883.
Yeah.
For 25, it's 68.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so,
then, so you're budgeting for 70. I'm just wondering where the 90 number came from.
so the 90 is the average from the VLCT.
Oh, okay. So that's,
So
yeah. So
either
we're below market.
Right, we're
Having
below,
budgeted,
but
yeah.
we don't know what's gonna happen if, I don't even wanna like predict anything,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Um,
I think the answer, Billy, is that like Karen said before, this is a guessing game. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to stick to $70,000 when we hire somebody. Obviously, we have to take that money from somewhere else if we did hire somebody at a higher rate, but that, all things being equal, we have to put a number in there, and we don't have a full-time chief right now. We don't even know where the committee's gonna land on that. So that's a good ballpark guessing number to just stick in the budget so we have a number.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just asking because we had 90 in there and now it's 70, and I just don't want to have a situation where we get down the road and all of a sudden people are wigged out because it turns out that to hire the fire chief that we end up wanting, it's actually a $99,000 job and we budgeted 70, and I'm
sure
going to bring it up now then.
Yep.
In months. The other thing is, if I may say this, that we've also talked about the fact that regardless of how the leadership structure ends up lining up, that we're in the committee discussions, we've been less focused on a particular salary than the cost in total of running the department. So whether it ends up being a full-time chief or 2 part-time people or 3 part-time people, we're trying to think about what the cost of that whole bucket is, however it's allocated.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right, and I might also say that, we're really clear about the recommendation of adding some more admin support there, and I don't see that reflected here.
and you're right, it's not.
And I wonder if, I wonder what we.
So the other part of that is that if you decide that you're not gonna go with a full-time person, you have that whole benefit package that you have budgeted.
Right.
Right.
That is there. So
Yeah, right.
that allows you to have
Flexibility.
in what you're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
And I just wanted to add too, I know Billy 90 was in there, and I've always said, if we go over budget on a line item and we can justify it, fine, it works. And you're right, we need to keep track of the actual cost. 90 may not be the right number, if you look at a full-time person that's totally qualified, they might want 100 or 110.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And so either way, whether it's 90 or 70, it's up to, if the board feels
if the board
differently.
feels like we should increase that number
Right.
just to cover our bases, if that's something you think you
I would love to hear more, Billy, Karen, Brian, I don't know more about what your rationale for the 90 was. but without even hearing that, I would be more comfortable increasing that number by some more, I don't know how much more, but increasing it to take into consideration, and I'm thinking of it less as chief salary and more at, like we've been talking in the advisory, in the task force, thinking of it more as, you know, money for management of the department. And it seems clear to me that we have a large a management need that is likely to be higher than 70,000. So,
go ahead, Karen.
So the 90,000 came from the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. It's the average.
The salary benefit.
Yes.
Survey.
That's.
So I would suggest. I mean, I don't know where we are at with this. Like I don't know how we make decisions. This actually.
You can make a change.
If you want to make a change, yeah.
I would like to make a change to this. But so how? I mean,
because you're not voting on it tonight.
So I guess why don't you plug in a $90,000 number, and then we can, when we're get down to the percent change of the budget, we can see what that does.
I would be happy with that.
We're
For our
gonna
next-
talk equal across the board for other management positions, regardless of fire department. What does our road foreman make?
No, but this is not just, well, I'm with you in terms of like, if we're doing an increase in salary, I guess,
So there
to
should
me,
be
I'm
a separate item for administrative.
well, I'm thinking of it a little bit differently, not in terms of, and maybe that's the wrong name for it. Chief said, I don't know. In the task force, we are looking at the need for management in
Right.
whatever form it takes. If it's chief,
Well,
but
like
I want that to be in the budget so that we can still make decisions about, is it one chief, is it 3 people working collaboratively, is it, is it a chief and a part-time chief and
a deputy.
We don't know yet
Or a
what
head
that
or
model's gonna
whatever.
be, but
Right.
I'm just it seems to me like it's likely gonna be more than what we've had, and I don't know where else to add a bit more just to have a more realistic.
So when we talked about it, I'll sort of tell you where it came from. We had 90 in there, and I was super uncomfortable with putting 90 in there. You have a road foreman that makes whatever he makes, and you could potentially have a new full-time fire chief coming into town that potentially doesn't know the roads in town, doesn't know the people in town, doesn't know the building in town, and you're gonna pay him 30% more than you're paying your road foreman who's been here for 10 years. There's gonna be some people that are upset.
Right. Do you see what I'm saying though? That it's for me. It's not.
Right.
It's not about the
it's not
salary.
it's just the amount of money that
That's
it costs.
budgeted.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was comfortable with if you go with you're breaking it up, so you're gonna put it in that management group. Then you go from not paying people benefits, and you have all that extra money there. So you're basically budgeting money that it's
Right.
kind of hard
How
to justify
How
that.
about if we had a separate line item for management or administrative, $20,000 line item for administrative, and that will break it out so that because the $70,000 number does assume that that's a full-time position, and these are the benefits of that position, but the 20,000 or the extra might not necessarily go with that, rather than say, well, we could take the 33,000 from the health insurance and add it to the let's
Right.
just add that as
Separate.
a separate line item and see what where that brings us.
Yeah.
Makes sense
So
to me.
that worked for us for now. This is not set in stone.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about this again another time. Are we good with the fire department?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
What happened, what?
So we have, I know we want to take a break, but we have Lenny here, so
Yeah,
we
let's
should do
do
that
it.
one first, right?
Sue's over there.
Crosstalk, okay.
Okay.
So the
Thank you,
next thing is
Brian.
the highway fund, yeah, thank you, Brian.
All right, so we can do highway now and then come back to general.
Yeah, let's do highway
Lenny?
with Lenny, and then we're gonna take a break, and then we'll come back and, finish up.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, Lenny. You want to turn your camera on? We can see you.
There you go.
There you are.
Where do we have highway?
Highway
Just keep
is,
flipping.
yeah, just keep, it's right after
Oh,
general
I
fund.
see.
Oh,
Okay.
So there's 6 pages of the highway.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how we did it, but we did it. We pretty much level funded this budget.
cool.
Yeah. So I'm just like, this is like one of the best budgets right here. Like,
Question. Yeah, are we giving a cost of living raise? I mean, is that just, is cost of living being given to everybody? Can we just assume that's happening?
Is that baked in?
yes, it's 2.5%, as I mentioned before.
Okay.
And the highway department has seen gradual increases over the last 3 years. So I think, yeah, they're pretty
Right,
much.
I just wanted to make sure, every time we get to one, a budget that involves staffing, I just wanted to make sure that I could assume that
Yeah.
everybody was getting a cost of living increase.
Yeah, don't assume anything,
Oh,
but yes.
But it takes effect on July 1st, right?
July 1st.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Where is the salaries on here?
So salaries are split up. You have general maintenance, and that is on, let me see. So you always have revenue first. And then on page 2, you have general maintenance salary at the very bottom, $189,000.
Okay.
So that's like April through the 1st of November. And then on page 3, 3/4 of the way down, you have winter maintenance salaries, $165,000.
Why do we do it this way? I should say, why is it done this way? But why is salaries, is this?
One part-time winter only.
Because winter, they have more overtime.
Yeah.
So you have to, calculate that. I have a spreadsheet
Right.
that does all that. So it's based on their hourly salary.
Right, I'm not questioning that we have it or that they get paid to do it. I'm just wondering,
Why you have general and then winter?
yeah, why salaries are not, I don't know, it just seems like in terms of a budget, who makes these categories? Is that you? Or
These were already set up.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so winter maintenance takes different tasks, responsibilities, okay?
Right.
So, you have sand that you have to, and salt that you have to accommodate for, so
Right.
you kind of categorize it,
Right.
So it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And in like the fire, you're tracking your summer stuff that's doing, because you have to buy chloride.
No, I get all that. It's more the staffing thing, because we're talking so much about staffing right now and wanting to make sure there's equity and salaries, that if we're gonna bump this salary over here, you know, we wanna make sure that we're doing the same with the highway department or whatever, that it's just harder to see when the salaries are spread out all over the place.
Because they're all lumped together, is that, you can't see the,
Well,
I get it.
they're lumped together, but then they're also separated out here, so I guess we couldn't, and this is probably not the place or time to do, we're not doing a salary equity study right now.
Right.
So
I have a whole different spreadsheet if you wanna look at it.
Okay, I'm done.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there other questions on the highway fund for Lenny?
So the other thing I guess we wanna mention is that we're due to buy a dump truck,
Okay.
so,
And is that one of the ones that we've been socking money away for?
yes.
Cool.
So on page 5 of the budget,
Page 5.
3/4 of the way down, transfer to highway capital reserve.
Okay.
So we increased that line item by 30,000.
Where are we? Sorry.
Page
5.
Page 5, almost all the way down.
Okay.
Third to last.
Okay, transfer to highway capital. Okay.
And currently we have in the highway capital reserve fund $297,350. So when this chunk of money gets added to it, the truck will come out of that reserve.
Okay.
Lenny is getting estimates from, what's the name of the place up in Westminster, Lenny?
ATG.
ATG. The other
And then there'll also be a quote too that I'll get for the body and all the plow equipment, which will be separate from the truck chassis from ATG.
Okay, but the whole thing is when it's all decked out will be the 175. That's the idea.
It'll be around that.
Around that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we have budgeted, and that should be right around that.
Okay, cool.
And it could be less, because it has been in the past, but we just don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. The other line item that increased was on the page 6 is the blasting reserve.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we bumped that up to $52,075.
Okay.
So that's
a sizable increase, but I remember you saying that we needed to increase that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the very first year we didn't put money away when
Right.
we were buying the pit, and that was $18,000. So
Yeah.
I'm recouping it here,
Okay.
and that'll get us. And we will be blasting in 25.
Okay.
And
we all get to play, right?
Right. Well, you have to have training before you can even be on the
I just want to
site.
blast.
Oh, you want to push the button? I
want to
see.
push the button. Go ahead.
So again, page 1, where it says property taxes.
Yeah.
So that's the amount of money that needs to be raised.
Okay.
And if you look at the budget for 25, see it didn't go up, it's 0 increase.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Even though you increased that line item.
Right.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So that was my question to Lenny. How did you do this? Like what, how did you level fund this? Like what happened to the other line items where, just give us a little context.
Some items went down and we dropped another payment on page 5. So there's $34,000 right there.
Oh, for one of the trucks.
Yeah, one of the truck payments
Came off, okay.
came off, and
Nice.
actually the truck's paid now.
Great.
And we only have one more truck payment. And I had Kim call the bank, and to buy a vehicle today, it's between 7 and 8%. So when Brian wanted to transition to buying equipment 3 years ago, he made a great decision.
Yeah.
So we
That
have
definitely, yeah.
we have built this reserve
Mhm.
and put money away, and we will continue to do that because I have a second request from the board. But yeah, this is, so congratulations, Lenny. You did a great job on your budget.
That's it.
Thank you for all the help.
Okay. Any other questions for Lenny or for Karen on the highway?
Let me see, there's one more item. Is it on the agenda? Is it the next?
We have sewer, water, and
No.
appropriations.
So underneath highway fund, I'd like to talk to the board about, the FEMA fund balance.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, that is there. Yep.
And that report is in your packet. So 2021, we had $1 million worth of damage on our roads from the storm, the July storm. So we created a special fund to track all those expenses and to get reimbursement. And right now in the special fund, the FEMA 2021 storm, there is $205,736.24. I'm recommending that the select board, which you have the authority to do, is to make a motion to move the $205,736.24 into the highway capital reserve. Because this is money that came from labor and materials out of the highway budget.
Okay.
So.
And so we have the authority to do that?
You have the authority to make this motion tonight.
Okay.
And then that will build that account up by
Okay, and what do
another.
we use that for? Is that for the, that's for the
It's gonna
equipment?
It's gonna be for the highway, which they can use for equipment, they can use for sidewalks, they can use for bridges and roads.
Is this
So-
gonna end up offsetting the budget in any way, or is that?
No, has nothing to do
So
with
it's
the budget, it just builds that capital
Okay.
reserve even further.
Even further, okay.
So they'll have like almost 600,000.
Okay.
So,
Does somebody wanna make that motion?
Make a motion to move $205,736.24 to the highway fund.
highway
Highway
capital
Reserve
reserve,
Fund.
thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move $205,736.24 to the Highway Capital Reserve Fund. Is there further discussion? Any other comments online? Any comments in the room? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
We're done with highway?
Yes.
Okay, select board wants to take a little break.
Thank you, Lenny.
Do you wanna take a break, how long? 10 minutes, a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. Thank you, Lenny.
Have a good night.
We'll come back at 7:23. 7:25, we'll say 7:25.
All right.
Okay, so we're coming back, it's about 7:22, 3-ish. And the next thing on our list is sewer and water. We're kind of doing I guess we didn't really go through the budget.
No,
We
do you
just
wanna-
went through the contracts, okay.
Can we do general fund?
Oh, sorry.
Can we
general-
finish that?
Go back to general fund, yes.
Yeah, because that's the big one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say I'm not comfortable yet with this one. It just doesn't feel good to me, doesn't look good. So I wanna massage it some more.
Okay.
And just so the board has an idea. Payroll.
Have general fund here?
Yeah, we do. It's backwards. It means not backwards.
It should be in front of.
Right
after the
after.
library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I just want to say compensation,
Yeah,
compensation, payroll taxes, childcare tax and pension, which is VEMR's
Yeah.
retirement, for all departments, so it'd be like all, town clerk, so in the general fund, in the highway, and in the library, the total amount is $1,171,680.
Wow.
So just the payroll alone is $1,029,000. So $1 million, $29,797.
Out of a total of what? What's the total general fund?
Well, hang on a minute, because I gotta break that up. So total payroll for general fund is $538,130.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you this, because I don't know if did I put that in your packet?
Have we seen this before?
But
maybe.
That's the sticker shock right there, folks. So when you have $1 million worth of just compensation and taxes, when you're looking at a $1.2 million budget.
Yep. Anything else want to see this?
So half of the operating cost is in your labor and taxes.
Well, we wouldn't have a town without the people in it, so.
Well, I understand that, but we need, this is.
That's where we're at, yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
And, if we're looking to increase, salaries to be fair and equitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big number. It's very quiet right now.
I mean, that's the thing, is that we have to, all towns are
We're
dealing
all
with
the
this,
same.
and
Yes.
it's the same issue. It's there's we need certain things to be done. A lot of the time, the people that will do those things are not cheap, and we're funded off of property tax. So.
Well, and here's on page 1 of the general fund, your very first line item, property taxes.
Yeah.
So we are going to have to raise $1,673,453.25.
Okay, and do we know what that percentage is?
I might have it here.
Huh?
Hold on a minute. So it's $188,067 more than last year.
Yep.
So, highway, general, it's 12.66%.
Wow. Okay.
So that number right there, I'm not comfortable with. I'm just saying it out loud again.
Okay.
The other thing that we need to remember, and I'm going to state out loud again, and we just wrote it in the letter, $886,000 of property tax revenue that is exempt.
Yep.
If we had that money on this number right here,
Yep, there's a problem.
that tax rate would be so much lower.
The only pilot payment on here is for $50.
Right.
And that's just not, that's not right.
And that's the fight we're gonna have to have, because that right there is why.
Yeah, it's all property tax.
Right.
So, we can talk about this later, but, we're talking about possibly implementing a local options tax. That's one way of getting revenue. There's the solar exemption we could try to go after again, but in essence, we're strapped here. We're not going to be able to offset this number by doing those things, and it'll offset it a little bit if we implemented all of them. But that's the dilemma.
Yeah.
So.
And Karen, these tax revenue numbers represent the new taxes, the newly assessed.
Yes.
Well, this is the number that we have to raise regardless of the assessed value of houses.
Well, what I meant, yeah, okay.
So
Yes,
there's
I
a
get it.
formula that I plug in to a spreadsheet.
Doesn't matter what they're assessed at.
Right. And
Right.
what
I
happens is
understand
if
that
the
now.
assessed values are higher, then the tax rate is
Right.
lower, but the amount of revenue.
Right, no,
Right.
I get
It's
that. That
independent
was,
of-
so therefore that was
Yeah.
a dumb question.
It's not dumb. It's complicated.
So the 12% is an increase in the general fund.
The 12% is the increase in the amount that needs to be raised. The
right, in that.
overall increase percentage-wise is 11.85%.
You mean when you take the other?
Everything else, yeah.
Right.
Offset your revenue with your expenses, but
Okay.
the actual increase in the general fund is 11.85%. What I would like to propose, and we're not gonna do it tonight, cause I need to massage these numbers some more.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know where it is. From our audit, we have 557,000 plus in fund balance for general fund.
Okay.
So the amount that we need to keep for 90 days in case of an emergency was 430,000, I believe it was. What I would like to do, and we'll talk more about it later, but I want to offset this budget by 100,000.
From the fund
I
balance.
want to take 100,000 from that fund balance and put it in the revenue to decrease that 188,000 by to bring it down to 88,000.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So that would decrease it to the 6% or.
Yes. And I think we're able to do that, and I feel comfortable saying this out loud right now, to take that 100,000, give it back to the taxpayers because of the reappraisal, and we will be sitting on 90-day emergency
Well,
fund.
there's no other reason to keep that.
And I don't see in the general fund, seeing an emergency where we're gonna use that money. The highway's different.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and they're only at 60 days with a fund balance.
Okay.
So, but that's my strategy right now. But again, I want to look at some of these numbers. I did increase hourly rates here at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Because I needed to.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I feel comfortable where they're going to be.
Yeah.
How did we get that up so high? The amount that you're going to transfer, what account is it coming from?
It's the fund balance.
The fund balance.
So it's a general fund. So
how did that get as high as it got?
It kept building. So this past year, there were 2 line items that we ended up with more revenue. So one was the checking account interest. It was $92,000 in interest that we earned off our sweep account.
Nice.
That we didn't expect.
I would like that.
And then we overpaid the school by $80,000, which I don't understand how any town overpays, but we seem to do it every year. And it's based off a formula they give us. So
Yeah,
right
it's like
there is
they make-
$170,000.
So they give us money back at the end of the year if it's not being used. That they
Right.
probably statutorily
Yeah.
required to do that. Yeah.
So I guess
it's built up over the last.
It's built up, and so this could give us some relief in this year, but it's not likely to be something that is sustainable. So we should know that it's just a one time.
It's not a one time. it's,
But we don't
We
build
have,
up
we
that-
have 90 days of a surplus, which, emergencies, which was what our audit said we should have.
yeah.
So theoretically, next year, there will be extra surplus that we could also apply.
coming from where if we're drawing
It's-
down that
it's-
surplus?
It comes from the
Interesting
general
that-
And
fund.
from the, okay, oh, so just generally.
We've been holding it
Okay.
back because we wanted to get up to the
Okay.
90 days.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's been about 4 or 5 years now that we've been building it up to a 90-day emergency supply based on our auditors'
okay,
suggestions. And so anything that's beyond that, because there always is a surplus, well, I shouldn't say there's always a surplus, there's
Right.
often a surplus. And that money just sits there,
as opposed to coming back in with the general fund.
right, unless we specifically say we want to offset taxes with it.
Okay. But it does seem that since we've been building it up for a number of years, that we're not likely to have the same
It's
amount.
from what we-
It varies from year to year.
Right.
So what happens, I'm always looking at the numbers, and come January, I look at the numbers. And I send out a memo, and it's like, if we don't need it, don't spend the money. So I just have everybody pull back, and then, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, there's things like, you know, we hired somebody and, you know, we have a single medical plan that wasn't in this year's budget, right? I can justify that, but I'm also gonna try to, you know, make that up by not spending out of the general fund. But, so it's kind of, it's a little tricky sometimes, but we just, you know, it seems to work. So there's only 1 year that I've been here as town manager, and it was, I think, it was either I believe it was the first year, had a negative in the budget, which, you know, but we've made up since then. I mean, I feel really good about this number,
Yeah.
you know, in the 90-day emergency
I mean,
fund.
you're right, it's not guaranteed that we'll have a surplus, anything can happen.
Right.
But in addition to the 90-day supply.
Right.
But theoretically, we could also by then have extra revenue from local options and other things.
Right. You gotta be creative.
Yeah.
We need to be.
I have another question that, personnel, spreadsheet that you sent around that was highlighted in yellow.
Yeah.
What percent increase is that over what it was last year? Again,
I didn't do that math, but we can do that for you for the next meeting.
okay,
Cause in the general fund, like town management is here with all my staff. You have town clerk over there, you have treasurer, so it's all, you know, chopped up.
right, I know,
But-
that was back to my thing about how chopped up the employees are in the budget. It's hard to kind of look at it all as one, you know, workforce, you know, what's the workforce, how's the workforce, what percentage, what's changing in the workforce
I
in
think
terms
it's a
of.
little tricky because we don't want to necessarily advertise individual salaries.
No.
It's public record, but you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable about that doing it in the open.
Oh, no, actually, what I'm proposing would make it even more anonymous. You know, if we were looking more generally at the Putney workforce, you know, what's the workforce here in our town?
We can
for
create-
our town, and
Right.
how's it changed? You know, how many FTEs? How's it changed over time? What, you know, position?
That's perfect for a study. No.
Yeah. No,
No,
I mean,
we can make a spreadsheet and
Yeah,
give you
it
that
should-
information
right.
with percentages.
And what is the cost and the increase
Yes.
of the employees that
Right.
have, you know, because that's.
I'm not
That-
sure it's not necessarily apples to apples either because say like Karen's position is a contract position and then you know, the
Right.
percentage of her increase may be higher or lower than the percentage of the other employees. So I'm not sure you'd get as much information out of that as if you were able to break it down by individual position, or at least in general. So it would be, town management, leadership versus admin staff. That might be
right
more helpful. I guess depending on what you're
and
looking for.
right. That's just helpful for me in trying to analyze where we are as a town and where, since so much of our like you just showed us, so much of the costs of the budget are the personnel.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate having it all in one place where I can look at what's interesting to me. Also interesting to me is the comparables from year to year and percentage increase.
Yeah.
So basically, so how much more are we spending this year to hire people to help us run this town?
Right, right.
That's kind of what I would love to.
We can pull that information and do a spreadsheet and do a comparison.
Yeah. Just be.
How far back do you want to go?
No, just a couple years. I mean, it's more just like from,
3 years maybe?
Well, what you're even what you're doing here, it's basically 2 years, just to get a picture of how that cost for human resources is increasing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's increased over the years since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're getting to a point, but we're not quite there yet.
From to there yet being where you think we should be in terms of how many people we have working to keep
and
this.
the amount of work they're doing and and the experience too. That's the other thing, like 3 of us have been here together for 7 years now. When you bring new people in too, you have this whole onboarding, it takes a while. It's you just don't pick it up unless you've already been doing that type of work.
Yeah.
So.
It's important stuff. And I just wish I had, maybe that's once we get.
We should talk to Chris Champney.
Yeah.
And maybe after the first of the year. Or do you want to do it sooner?
No, I want to do it when I'm finished doing the fire department stuff.
Okay.
What I was saying is my next project,
not one complicated thing at a time. Okay. Are there other comments about the general fund? Questions?
Any questions, you can come to me. I will get you data if you need it.
Okay.
That's what I'm here for.
Any comments in the room? General fund? Any comments online? Okay, then let's move on to the water and sewer, right?
Right. So water and sewer are user fee based. This is for your information. And sewer, we're definitely going to need to reevaluate the fees and make an increase.
Okay.
And water is, not a very slight increase with water.
Because there's a water, okay. There's no water, there's no sewer bond, I guess. There's no reservations to get into the sewer system, but there is one for the water.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but I'll roll with that.
That's a little odd, but it's water under the bridge, so to speak.
So water's up 5.17%.
Okay.
And sewer is up, overall it's up 9.94. Even with a 30% increase in the contract.
You're saying even with a 30% increase, it's only up 9%.
Yes.
Right.
You know, the unknowns too with either sewer or water is like your chemicals. You know, those can change if we have to replace like a pump. Both these budgets also have money in them, so if we were to have to replace a pump, you know, we can do that through a direct expense. So each budget carries $10,000 for capital expenditure. The water has 13 and sewer has 10. And the sewer also has plant improvements of 13,000.
Why is the truck on here?
Because we pay the truck, we pay a monthly payment for the truck. It's in the contract.
Okay, because it's zero from the other years.
You know why? Because it was stuck up in the contract, which was not the right place to have it.
Oh, I see, so, okay.
Yeah, so now we can see it in the budget and it's more
It's just
transparent.
It's an added line item, okay,
Yes,
all right.
yep.
I thought I saw an easy 5,000.
You go, girl. No, I go through this in my sleep.
I'm sure you do.
I do, and it's like, oh.
I'm not gonna find something you missed.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you might.
Are there questions or comments on the sewer or water? Any comments online? Any comments in the room? Okay. Then let's move on to appropriations, social agents. Why are these here? Okay, let's move on to social agency. Appropriations.
Yeah, it's in there.
They're
right?
in there, yeah.
So this number's gonna change, folks.
Okay.
Because as I massage the general fund budget, it can, you know, either go up or down, but we try to make it go down. And the other unknown is the county tax, which we never get that number, you know, until January. Should ask Mark about that.
Yeah, they usually have their final budget hearing around this time. I haven't heard anything about it actually.
So
if anybody hears about that, you should go to it because usually I'm the only person in Windham County that shows up. So.
What is that?
Nobody knows about this. So the county is run by 2 assistant judges. They're elected positions. And they have purview over the county budget. And the county budget is mostly the courthouse and the sheriff's department and any county lands that they have. And they do have a budget hearing, which the public is welcome to attend, but the public has no input at all on the budget. So we don't vote it up or down. So the only power we have over the county government is the 2 assistant judges. And I'm making that point specifically because they went ahead and they bought a piece of property in Brattleboro and took an $800,000 building off the tax rolls with no oversight from the public at all. And they also have no obligation to pay a pilot payment because there's no legislation that says county lands are obligated for that. So it's a bit of a sore point for me. So I'm just again pointing out to the public that the county is a bit of a shadow government, and if you can make your presence known at one of those budget meetings, please show up. Yeah, go ahead.
So in that, if there's no, like, you can't vote up or down like you do at town meetings, it's still open to open meeting law where you can be like, we're here. Hey, I really think that this is da da da. And the idea
they'll take public comments.
Okay.
And I always go to their meeting and say, are you planning to buy any property in Putney? Because we would like to know.
Please do not.
Please do not, right? And usually they have a preliminary one in September and they have their final one around here. They're not very open about it. I'm just gonna say that too. It's usually in the
Easy 'cause
paper.
there's no county government to speak of.
It's only the 2 assistant judges, basically, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, yep.
This year.
But they are elected positions, so if anybody wants to be an assistant judge. Anyway, back off the high horse. Back onto social community services appropriations.
So those
Don't we normally get letters from them?
Yes, reports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are due in October?
We have all of them
Do we
now.
normally see them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can make sure you see them in the next meeting.
I'm just wondering, because didn't we have one that successfully petitioned last year? I'm looking at Council on Aging.
Yeah, but they have to petition like 3 years in a row.
I don't know that that's in our policy, but I'm wondering specifically about the Council on Aging. Was that one that we picked, or was that one that was petitioned?
No, that's been on there. Yeah, that was one you picked.
Okay.
So the ones that petitioned last year,
yeah,
those were put into the budget as voted articles.
Right.
So, and that was
There was only one. Oh no, there were two.
There was
the
the
bike project and another
then
one. No, there wasn't. There was only one.
no, there was the other one.
Well, Grace Cottage
That one.
They get denied.
got denied.
Yeah.
The bike project got
Yeah.
approved, and I think there was another one, but
Green
I think
Mountain.
it was Green Mountain RSVP.
Yeah.
I think.
The nursing.
Yeah.
Yes.
and they didn't. I can't remember what happened to that. Okay.
Well, no, that one
was the one.
was approved.
Okay.
It was $633, and it was added to the budget.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
before we finalized.
So these are the ones that we picked from last year.
Yes.
Are we still good with these particular agencies? Or do we want to dive into that at some other point?
The
Or
community.
do our due diligence on these.
We should review your policy because I think these are the ones that you voted on, and
Yeah, but we don't have to choose them every year. We don't have to keep them on if we feel that they're not.
yeah. Well, if you're not going to keep them on, you need to let them know so they can.
Right, I know.
petition.
That's why I'm asking about the letters.
The letters went out,
Yeah.
and
Usually
then
we have a chance to look at the letters and we look at the. look at
Okay.
those.
I will bring those to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Because
I know they need to know if we're gonna take them off, cause then they have to petition.
yeah, but I'm not quite sure we'll be ready to. I'd like to vote on the budgets
Yeah.
on the 8th of January if possible, but we could have an extra meeting.
When are petitions due?
Kim.
I'll look the spreadsheet. Hold on.
Sorry.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
We should have that up over there.
I
Is it
think
in
I
here?
have it somewhere. I didn't find it though. My bag of tricks right here.
I just wanna make sure that we're always kinda evergreen on this list because it is, it's extra money.
Right.
And,
We gotta think about that. This budget getting higher.
Right,
What'd you say?
We gotta think about this budget getting higher,
right, I mean, it's
Taxpayers will
nice,
say,
it's nice of us to do that, but it's also, at the end of the day, it's extra money.
So I have brought this to the board more than once.
16th.
Some towns have articles for each
Yeah.
social agency.
Yeah, and I think we argued about Grace Cottage for like 45 minutes, so
Right.
that's why we did this.
Yeah. So petitions are due, last day for filing petitions, last day to file with town clerk is January 16th.
That's not giving them a lot of time. I still wanna do some due diligence on these, on the 8th, if that's okay with everybody else. And let's just make a note that next year we wanna do this earlier in the year.
What I can do for the board is to email all the reports
Yeah, okay.
tomorrow, and then you'll have a chance to review them. At least you'll have that.
Okay. And we get reports from all of those
Yes.
A's and B's?
Yes.
Okay. And you send out a reminder to them to do that?
Rachel does that, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do that in early October.
Yeah.
We ask for their report.
Okay.
And then if you wanted to speak to somebody, we can have them come January 8th if that's.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think we should spend a whole lot of time,
No.
it seems like looking at what they're doing and then making a general decision about, are
this
we
the year?
comfortable
Right.
continuing to do it?
Right.
Is really the question, not like, did Putney Food Shelf do good work this year?
Right.
We're not, I'd rather not.
Well, that's a point. Maybe it's a larger discussion. If there's a way to either reduce the amount that we give them because it's based off of 2.5% of the general and highway budget. That's a policy change, or that we want to say in the policy that it's not guaranteed. Some years we may be able to do it, some years we may not. I don't know. This is one of those extras. I hate to say it's an extra, but it's an extra expense off of the highway and general fund, and it's a chunk of money. So,
Especially the Group B. I mean, I guess they got more sentimental value to the Putney, causes, but
yeah,
Group B is we gotta watch our budget too.
Yep. All right, so let's put that as an agenda item for whatever you said, January 8th.
Yep.
Okay. Are we good with social agencies for now?
Yes.
Cemetery.
So cemetery is an appropriation, just like the library. The cemetery appropriation is found in the general fund.
Okay.
And all I want to say about that is it did increase. We did put a request for proposal for mowing, but we ended up with the one bid that was rejected. So we will have to put a proposal back out. The cemetery appropriation is on page, if you want to look at it, but it's in there. Where is it?
Page 13.
13. Thank you, Nate.
How'd you do that?
I know. Good job. So it did go up. I based it on a 10% increase, not knowing what's going to happen.
Okay.
Again, it's kind of a guessing game, but there's not much we can do.
And that's basically mowing mostly.
Mowing and trying to brush clearing trees if we have to.
We don't get any revenue from the cemetery. There's no
Very little.
fees or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, plots and cornerstones.
Okay.
So there's a little, not much.
Okay.
So that is cemetery. And the library we already talked about. It's in there as an appropriation. So all three of these appropriations basically sit in the general fund budget. And
Okay. Any questions about the cemetery or the library? We've already talked about the library. Any comments? Anybody online want to talk about the cemetery? Anybody in the room? Okay. No, we did library. So the next thing is the town meeting articles, which is a draft.
yeah,
I think we should just keep it this short. This would be great. So basically what you did was you plugged in the general fund and the highway and the fire department.
right.
And left the rest of it. Okay. Oh, and you did put the
I added a fourth payment for tax payments.
Yep, I think that's a good way to do it, because we've kind of asked it in an oblique way for the past 2 years, and I guess nobody took the hint. So yeah, let's put that out there as we want to change it to 4.
I think it'll help ease some of that financial burden.
I mean, it'll make it, the payments smaller each time, but then there's less time between payments to save up for it, so I'm for it.
I just, consider that I added May, but I don't know if that's your preference. So look at the schedule, see if it works for you folks.
Yep. This is our opportunity to add other draft articles. I would like to add all 3 local options as separate articles.
So local sales.
I found a really good explanation by the state on how to implement it and how it works. So I tried to send it to Karen, but apparently it fell off en route.
I didn't get it.
It wasn't me. I did not attach it.
Yeah.
So I can send it along to you. And how do people feel about putting the solar exemption back into play? It got shut down last time because there's the community solar, and they might have trouble paying a tax bill, but.
Well, the community solar, I believe, is going to nonprofit status.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Okay. So
that's the process. If they go to a nonprofit, then
they can, then we can exempt them,
Right.
or they would be exempt, or they could be exempt. They'd have to go through the listers process, but so I'd like to put that back on the warrant.
I think that's
Try
a
that
great
again.
idea, and it's
extra revenue.
With what's going on in Putney right now too.
There's
notices in your boxes over there about a battery storage bank.
Yeah.
That's going on River Road
That's
next to the solar panel on High-Low Biddy.
Yeah.
And if that's taxable too.
That might already be taxable under the utilities, but we should. Yeah.
We need to look at that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to call San Souci. And
speaking of San Souci, did we have a reappraisal of our utilities by any chance?
Not yet.
We should do that.
Yep.
Brattleboro recouped a lot of revenue by hiring San Souci and having them modernize the utilities list.
So normally I go through Larry Sison, our town attorney. I'd be willing to call San Souci directly and see if I can get that ball rolling quicker.
Yeah. I'm not sure Larry's really up on utility.
Well, he did represent us like 6 years ago.
Right, sure, for that, but to answer a question specifically about battery storage, I'm not sure he would.
Right.
I'm not sure he's the best person to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I will go to San Souci then.
Does anybody have other articles that they would, off the top of their head, would like to add?
Didn't you have one earlier, Karen, that we have to add about?
Yeah. Yes. So the fire
department funds.
revenue.
Yeah.
I'll get some language. I actually have one because the line item in the general fund for energy. For public buildings.
Yeah.
Energy conservation. That was an article. So any money that's left in that line item goes into a special account.
Right.
So I think I can do this with the fire and the EMS.
Yeah, I want to run by Larry, right? Yeah. Any other ones? We have a few more weeks to draft the warrant, so if there's other things that we want to put on the warrant. Also for the public, petition warrant articles are due. You said the day and the voting.
The
got it.
16th.
The 16th of January. So if you
Is
have-
that right?
Yes.
So if you have something that you want to put on the town warning for 2025, now's the time to start gathering signatures. Anything else about the warrant that anybody, Heather?
Nate is not rerunning again.
Right, so
Unfortunately,
there's,
so that has to be in on the same day as well for the warrant.
yeah, they're two, well, regardless of whether he's running again,
Right.
the election,
That's our next item.
petitions are, we actually have no, it's not there. Yeah, what date is that?
Kim, do you have that date? Cause I,
Petitioners,
For elected positions?
for candidates,
Yeah,
yes,
27th.
January 27th.
Yes.
yeah, that's.
So,
the end.
yeah, so we have, we're kind of going back into, we're going ahead of ourselves. Yeah, let's do this in order, sorry. Does anybody, want to talk about the warrant, the warning for 2025? Any more suggestions, questions, comments? Anybody online? Okay, now we can move on to elected positions that are expiring. So there's one 3-year seat and one 2-year seat on the select board. There's a 3-year seat on the board of listers. I'm not sure who's up for re-election this year. Which lister? Do you know? Karen?
I think it's Doug.
Is it Doug? Okay.
Yes.
Not that it matters.
Doug Harlan.
Cemetery commissioners, there's 3 seats, so 1, 2, and 3 years. Last year, there were a couple people who said that they were gonna run and they didn't. So if you wanna run for cemetery commissioners, I would greatly appreciate it because like I said last year, the select board does not wanna be in charge of cemeteries.
Come on.
I don't. I don't. Does anybody else want to be in charge of cemeteries? Okay.
Maybe, but not while I'm on the select board. That would be my retirement.
There might not be a conflict of interest. Maybe you could run for that seat. Moderator for 1 year, and the 3 library trustees, which are usually voted as a slate from the floor of the town meeting. So those are the elected positions, and if you are interested in those positions, you need to get your petitions in by the date that was
June
27th, I think by 5 p.m. And if you want to do that, you should contact Jonathan Johnson. He's the town clerk, and he's very knowledgeable in the dates and how many signatures you need and all that fun stuff. Okay.
And if anybody is interested in being on the select board, I encourage you to reach out to any of us on the select board to share our experiences of how much fun it is and why you might want to do it.
Peck makes awesome sushi.
Yeah, she does.
Great. That's that one. Anybody else have any comments on elected positions that are up for re-election? Anybody online? Anybody in the room? Okay. Next is board vacancies. Vacancies, boards, and committees.
This is the list.
Okay.
It's very lengthy.
These are the committees that have vacancies. Well,
there's a couple missing, because I can tell you Windham Regional
Oh, right.
Commission representative, there's 2 openings. And we really need people on this.
That's a really important one.
Yes.
They're not all important, but we, so there aren't any vacancies per se on the Housing Advisory Committee, but all committees are reappointed for 1 year. So if you want to be on a board or an alternate for a board, you should talk to the chair of that board first, and maybe go to one of their meetings to get a feel for the work that they're doing. So the Housing Advisory Committee right now is consists of Laura Chapman, Elizabeth Chase, Pip Bannister, Aiden Paradis, and Mike Murky. The Conservation Commission has one vacant position, and I guess Gino Palmieri is up for reappointment. Is that why his name is there?
Yes.
So the names that are here are the
up for
reappointment,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Development Review Board has 2 positions up for reappointment, Jim Schweitzer and Pip Bannister. And then there's also 2 vacant alternates. If somebody's a little hesitant to be on a board, want to dip your feet into it, being an alternate is a good way to do that. The DRB is a quasi-judicial board that hears zoning, it has zoning hearings and can issue permits. Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, up for appointment is Swift, Aberdeen, Shoshana Bass, Nate Snell, Eleni Maxakuli, Lisa Chase, and Jill Hinckley. There are 3 vacant positions there. So again, if you think you might want to be on that board, you should contact Swift as the co-chair, and maybe go to one of their meetings to get a feel for it. Planning Commission has 2, 1 currently vacant seat and 1 anticipated vacant seat. And then Pip Bannister and Sue Coakley are also up for reappointment. And then the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee, which is a committee underneath the Conservation Commission, has Ann Carey, Mary Quinn, Cynthia Major, Todd Dowling, and Jane Colias up for reappointment.
Question. How many years are these appointments for?
Well, the Housing Committee and the Wetland Committee and the Inclusion Committee, all the advisory committees are 1 year.
1 year.
Right.
So
and then
the
Conservation Commission is, I'm not sure, 3.
Yes.
And DRB is probably 3. Planning Commission is either 2 or 3, I'm not sure.
They're supposed to be staggered.
Stagger.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
That's that. Any questions about committee vacancies?
A comment.
Huh?
Comment.
Yes.
The Equity Inclusion Advisory Committee actually has another vacancy. Shoshana Bass moved and stepped.
Okay. Okay then, even more. Did you have a comment?
Sure.
Question?
When it comes to like the different boards, like some people might have a clue. Maybe me or 2 other people that might be online are like, oh, we know what this one is, and we know what that one is, and maybe not in like a session. Maybe on a website would be a good practice to describe what they do.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before. I don't know if on the new website. Do we
Yeah,
have
is it on the new
descriptions?
website?
Kim, do we know that? I don't know if
We also
for
at
sure.
one point had a list.
So
We had
Rachel
a-
has developed some cards that we're gonna have at town meeting. And she's also gonna have them on the website. And then they're all have a QR code on them. So you QR code them and it'll give you a description of what it is.
Nice.
So
Okay.
that's
Good.
what we're working on.
That's good.
She's, trying to split her time, but most of her time is on communications.
Yeah, a suggestion to, in all her spare time, like posts to the various social media.
She
where
does
she's
that
posting.
already.
But is she posting like commissions vacancies?
Yes.
Are those going up there too? I haven't.
I've seen them every once in a while. They're not like consistent, but
I don't. Okay.
So
about this time of year is a good time to get people because we're
Right.
gonna reconvene.
And we'd
in
like to
March.
have you review these communications, marketing, whatever you want to call them. But, you know, we've been doing our due diligence to
Yeah.
get the word out there,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it only goes so far.
I know,
And,
Yeah.
you know,
I know.
it hasn't been easy to, and we're not the only town with this problem, by the way. Many towns they're not able to fill volunteer positions.
Right. Yeah.
You'd have sushi at every meeting.
If you open a box of worms there, you're gonna start making it all the time.
No, I gotta get some more.
There's your hand up.
Billy or Lynn? Which one is it?
This time it's Lynn.
Because you're doing that on purpose. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What can I say?
I think it would be really great to get that information up and out, as soon as possible. And even if you're going to do QR codes, if somebody could make a poster and put them up at like the G store and things like that. I mean, I don't know if it's okay to publicize it that way, but
Sure.
Definitely social media and I Love Putney and all of those places. I would agree with Heather. It seems key to make sure people know what a 1 sentence, 2 sentence job description and what it entails. Seems really important.
Yeah. Good ideas.
Follow up.
Yes.
So we have Facebook, we have Instagram, Front Porch Forum. There's a Putney News or something like that she's posting to. Our hope, Lynn, is that people see our post on our Facebook and they grab it and share it with other platforms.
Well, I mean,
Maybe
yeah.
not.
Well,
I mean, I think that's fine. I just, I personally never go on Facebook, but I do go on Instagram. So like, that's just, everybody's has a different way of getting information. And with QR codes, it could go up on a poster. I mean, QR codes are great for that, a poster with a QR code that takes you to a listing that says these are the available things, because I don't know, they're actually easier to read QR codes off a piece of paper than off your computer screen, but you can do it both ways, so.
Yeah, we're working on trying to get it out there quick.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
Are there other comments online? Any other comments on the board? Any comments in the room? Okay. Moving on to select board old business, there isn't any. The next meeting, our next regularly scheduled meeting, because we're taking a couple of weeks off due to holidays, not for lack of trying, is January 8th, 2024. That's a regularly scheduled meeting, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do a.
Were you gonna throw out some, do you wanna do another doodle poll?
Sure.
For another extra meeting for?
One
budget?
extra meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if we can gather us in the next 2 weeks. It might be too difficult. We could try.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you. All right, so.
Right, that first week in June.
The first week
Never
of January
mind,
is the
we're back.
first.
Yeah. No.
I mean, yeah.
No, we'll have,
Yeah.
there's not gonna be any time between
Yeah,
now and
so-
next.
I think we do January 8th,
Maybe, yeah.
and then we have another one after.
Okay.
And what day are you not here?
The 22nd, which is a regularly scheduled meeting, but we
Right.
could, I was thinking maybe we should just move that meeting because Peg isn't here either. So,
I have a DRB meeting on Tuesday.
okay. We should come up with a different date on that one because we might have trouble meeting quorum if the two of us aren't here.
And we're gonna run out of time
Yes.
to get
Yeah,
an
so
approval
sooner
on
rather
the
than
warning.
later would be better on that one.
Sure. All right, we'll figure that out.
Actually, if we met on the 15th, maybe we could finalize stuff instead of the 22nd.
Yeah. We might be able to do that.
Can't make the 15th.
Maybe I could looking, if that is
My
what we need
concern
to
is
do, I
that
could
we
look
only
into
have 4
changing.
here
I
today,
know.
so
Yeah, I'm
I don't
totally
wanna,
with you.
I don't, and you and I both, unfortunately, are both out on the 22nd. So
If
theoretically,
need-
we could make
yeah.
quorum, but I wouldn't
If
wanna.
need be, I could get back on the 22nd in time for select board meeting. I'm gonna be out of town, but
Not in a snowstorm, you won't.
no, we're not missing.
Yeah, I don't really wanna.
Yeah, let's
don't
not
wanna-
chance
I don't
that
wanna
thing.
chance that. That's gonna be a pretty important meeting, because we'll have to be finalizing a bunch of stuff. All right, that was a long way of saying, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, everyone.